Hi, my name is Ryan Butler. I'm the Regional Motion Engineer for Yaskawa Motion on the West Coast. As part of the Yaskawa at Home video series, I put together a demonstration of controlling a Sigma Trac II linear motor stage using our PLCi.net library. Before going into the demo, a quick overview of what the system looks like. At the top level, I have a PC running a .NET application that I've written in C#, which integrates our PLCi library, and that's used for direct control of variables within the Sigma-7Siec controller, which is shown over here. The communication between the PC and the Sigma-7Siec is Ethernet. The Sigma-7Siec will be controlling the Sigma Trac II linear motor stage. So the Sigma-7Siec actually is performing a couple of very important functions. First, it's closing the position loop and providing full servo control of my linear motor stage, and it's also running the IEC program, which will be controlling the motion of the stage. What's shown on the screen now is a .NET application down in the bottom right-hand corner, which is running on my PC, and then the Sigma-7Siec and Sigma Trac II linear motor stage shown in the top left. What this application will do is very simple. It will cycle the motor back and forth between two positions and allow me to control the maximum position that the motor will travel to, the maximum velocity at which it will travel, and the maximum acceleration and deceleration used for those profiles. These are actually variables accessed through the PLCi library that write to variables that are in the Sigma-7Siec. I'll show you a little bit about that later, but basically this is direct variable access to between the .NET application here and the program running on the Sigma-7Siec. Over to the right are some variables that are read from the Sigma-7Siec, which are reporting information about the motor. For example, actual position, actual velocity, and actual force. Also information about whether or not the motor is enabled or disabled. Right now it's enabled. I've just disabled the motor so you can see that change. Also, I'm reporting whether or not there are any warnings or alarms on the axis. If there are, I can get descriptions of what those are, which will be shown over here on the right. And then I also have a couple of scale factors down here, which are simple ways for me to speed up and slow down the rate at which the motion will cycle, and also the distance that the motion will cover. Then I have a couple of other important controls over here for enabling and disabling the motor, and also for starting and stopping the motion cycle. So with that being said, I'll show you what this application will do. So we'll get the motor enabled. We'll start cycling back and forth, and I've got my scale factor set to pretty low values right now, so distance is about 37.5 millimeters. It's 25% of the 150 millimeter max position up here. Cycle rate scale factor is 25%, so that would be 25% of actually velocity and acceleration. I just took a simple scale factor applied to both of those parameters. So let's see what this does as we increase the speed and also the distance. The motion that you're seeing in the video is of the motor moving back and forth 150 millimeters, which is set by my max position parameter here. This is one of the variables that I'm writing to directly from my .NET application to the program running on the Sigma-7Siec. Also, another variable is the maximum velocity, which equates to 2 meters per second. I have an acceleration of 40 meters per second squared, which is approximately 4 Gs. And then in between each of these moves, I'm also making sure that the motor settles to within a distance that I've defined, simulating an accuracy goal in an application. And that distance is 0.1 microns, which comes down to, for my 10 nanometer, roughly 10 nanometer encoder resolution, it's 10 counts. Which, given where this motor is mounted right now, basically it's clamped to my kitchen countertop. It's not exactly ideal for motion this aggressive and a settling radius that narrow, 0.1 microns. There's a vibration from the countertop of about 25 hertz, which I'm compensating for to a large degree with our vibration suppression algorithm. It's helped me reduce my settling time quite a bit. So I'll show a quick example of what the motion would look like without that settling radius. So what you're seeing now is the motion running at its maximum rate without any settling. I'm going to reduce my cycle factor here because I know that the forces get to be pretty high, and if I let it run like that for too long, I'll eventually reach a RMS limit. But I'll show that again. So we'll increase the cycle rate factor back up to 100%. I'll also decrease the distance just so you can see how fast it'll move over a smaller distance. Over the small distance, this is cycling back and forth at about 7 hertz. At full distance of 150 millimeters, cycling back and forth at about 4 hertz. So there's a significant difference in terms of the motion rate that you can achieve when you pay attention to a settling radius, something as small as 0.1 microns versus not really caring about the settling radius. Of course, different applications will have their different needs, but overall, without that settling radius, you can get an idea of the rate at which one of our Sigma Trac II motors can run. To wrap up this demonstration, I'd like to show you something I've added into my .NET application just for fun, which is control of the linear motor through speech. I've selected a handful of commands to enable, disable the motor, start and stop motion, and increase and decrease the rate at which the motor moves, as well as the distance. By the way, this is intended just for fun. It's absolutely not a recommendation for how to control a machine or mechanized devices. There are definitely safety and reliability concerns. So take this just for fun. Hope you enjoy. Enable. Move. Faster. 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 Longer. 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 Slower. 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 Shorter. 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 Stop. Disable. Now that we've seen the application running, by application I mean both the .NET graphic interface and also the single-axis controller program. Now that we've seen those running, I'd like to talk a little bit more in detail about the inner workings and point out specifically how the PLC library is involved in making these two applications work together. So the first thing we'll look at is the program running in the Sigma-7Siec. This is our single-axis controller. We're looking at MotionWorks IC3 Pro right now. The application that I've designed is pretty simple. It's all written in ladder logic and fits into one single worksheet. So up at the top here I have my access control, which is used for enabling, disabling the motor, clearing alarms and warnings, and also getting indications of alarms and warnings. So it's a management level function block. Over to the right I have some function blocks which will give me string descriptions of error codes based on warnings. So more administrative things there. Down here I have the function blocks involved with actually making the motion occur. This is where I'm taking in values that are based on my maximum acceleration, maximum velocity, maximum position, all from that .NET application, as well as the scale factors, the distance, and the cycle scale factors. So I'm generating a position, velocity, accel, and decel that will be used based on what I have for my .NET application. A couple of other things about this are that I have a bit in here which can be used to indicate to the program whether or not we should be waiting for the axis to be settled. This is looking for what we call the P-set signal from the axis, which will indicate, actually right here is the P-set indication. This is just a override to avoid the P-set. The P-set indicates when the axis is within a defined settling radius. And if you'll remember from the demonstration, my settling radius was 0.1 microns, or 10 counts. So this is a signal generated automatically by the drive to tell us when we're in position. So I'm using this in series with the output of my move absolute function blocks, so that once the commanded move is done, I'm waiting also for the second condition, which is that we're settled. I also have a couple of time delays in here, which I've used simply for testing things out. The demonstration I did had 0 time delay between the moves. The only delay that you saw was the case where I was actually using my P-set or waiting for settling to have occurred. Down at the bottom, I have some function blocks which are providing me with my updates on actual position, actual velocity, as well as actual torque. So those are the functional components within the program. A lot of variables are involved. Let's take a look at the variables that are being used over PLCi. These are all declared as global variables. I've also grouped them together under this PLCi variables group here. So you can see all the ones that my form uses, the .NET application uses here. For example, the maximums for acceleration, position, velocity, enable motor, start motion, the readouts from the axis of force, position, velocity, presence of alarm, presence of warnings, whether or not access is enabled or disabled, and then some string variables down here which can report my messages. I'll show you the .NET application now and describe how the two are integrated together. So here's the code for my .NET application. Again, this was written in C#. I won't go through all the inner workings of the code, but just point out the key areas where PLCi is involved. First one is the library that I'm actually using, which is the Yaskawa PLCi interface. This is a library which allows us to interact with variables resident in an MPIC controller. There is another library available, the PLCi.net, which gives more administrative functions in addition to simple variable access. And those administrative functions include controlling the state of the controller, if it's running, if it's stopped, rebooting, so on and so forth. Also access to reading and writing files. This application is pretty simple. It's just using variables, so I'm only using the Yaskawa.plci interface. A couple of key variables that I've declared here. There's a PLCi handler, which is the main interface in the code for reading, writing variables, also creating and managing a connection with the MPIC controller. Down here in my connection, the key thing that I'm doing, aside from connecting my handler to the IP address of the MPIC controller, is that I'm subscribing down here to a list of variables for my read process. I'm only doing this for the read because I'm writing the variables in a different fashion. I'll show you that in just a second, as well as how my list of variables is actually initialized. This is a nice feature because it allows you to do a bulk read, a read of several variables all at once, which are all contained within a list. My application is running a separate thread to update the PLCi variables. Every so often, in this case, I have a 100 millisecond interval between consecutive writes and reads. And you can see here where I'm writing variables to the MPIC controller based on what I have on the step-down application's graphic interface. And then here's where I'm reading the variables back from the MPIC, which are then used to update different items on the .NET application. When I write variables, I'm calling this function here, write variables. This is writing to variables one variable at a time. It's not the only way to write to variables. You can actually write to an entire list or write to structures. This is simply one way that I chose for the purposes of this demonstration. Now, the interesting thing to note here is that the full variable name is used, the global variables.maxPosition. This is what's used within your .NET application to reference a variable present on the MPIC. And if we go back to the MotionWorks application, here's that max position variable right here. And you'll see others like max acceleration, max velocity, so on and so forth, which are shown here and here. When I read variables, I'm reading from a subscription that I've created previously. And then all those variable values are updated to a list, which is kind of nice. This allows me to do a bulk read or a read of an entire group of variables. Now, that group of variables is created through this list down here. I've called it MPIC var list _ read. Just my way of reserving a variable or list for variables that will be read from the MPIC program. And as you can see here, these are also referencing the variables in the MPIC by name. Those are the major components of the .NET application. Everything else is framework for making the graphic interface work, some conversion of values, updating the text boxes and other controls on the screen based on what I'm reading from the MPIC controller, and then also reading values from text boxes and writing those values down to the MPIC controller. More information on our PLCi library can be found on the Yaskawa website. Searching for PLCi will result in an application note link which contains several different items, including a Visual Studio project, demo project, a demo MotionWorks project for your MPIC controller, as well as a help file, application note describing how to integrate an MPIC program with a Visual Studio application, and then the library itself.